everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well everyone, not only is it going to be my 800th episode, but it's also my 33rd birthday. And for this video, I have something very special to share with you. But first, how about a little backstory? If you may recall, during 2014 and 2019, I've shared my thoughts on Maleficent's live-action films, and to me, despite a few hiccups with each film, I found them both to be pretty interesting. Also, I found them dark, epic, mature, and very thought-provoking. And I think Angelina Jolie does a very spectacular performance in both films. Also, I must mention that the Mistress of All Evil is in fact my childhood nightmare. And ever since I was a young foal, she's been haunting me for quite some time. I mean, sometimes I've been having bad dreams where it showed Maleficent as the most likely source as to why I'm a humanoid horse, or showing her plotting to use me to inflict destruction or hurt my friends and loved ones. But thankfully, I could never do that by will. And nowadays, even though I'm still afraid of her, at the same time, I'm not afraid to take her down, if it's all possible, that is. Anyway, over the years, Maleficent has been praised as one of Walt Disney's greatest villains, as well as a huge part of the Kingdom Hearts game series and in the nighttime show Fantasmic at Disneyland. By the way, you guys are not going to believe this, but me and a few of my friends were there at Disneyland that night when her dragon animatronic caught fire during the show's climax. But we didn't witness it because we had to go home before it happened, even though my friend Igor spotted the smoke from the park's gates. Anyway, the film I've chosen for today's episode is the animated classic where Maleficent made her grand villainous Disney debut. Released on January 29th, 1959, the movie is Sleeping Beauty. And now, on for the plot of the movie. After the beautiful Princess Aurora is born, the entire kingdom gathers to celebrate, including the three good fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. Everything is perfectly fine until the evil sorceress Maleficent arrives and curses the young princess by announcing that she'll prick her finger on a spinning wheel spindle and die before sunset on her 16th birthday. Fortunately, Merryweather softens the curse so Aurora will not die, but only fall into a deep sleep instead. And the only way to wake her from her sleep is true love's kiss. To prevent Prince Philip from rescuing Aurora, Maleficent kidnaps and imprisons him in her dungeon. So, the good fairies are the last hope to free Philip so that he can awaken Aurora. So, what do I think? Well, this has got to be another one of my favorite animated films from Walt Disney's time, and I still love it today. But, unfortunately, the film didn't do so well, as it sadly became a box office bomb in theaters. However, the reason why it bombed wasn't because people didn't like it. I mean, sure, it got mixed reviews back then, but the main reason why was because of problematic production and high costs, and that the studio's publicity department didn't do very well at advertising it, compared to The Shaggy Dog, which was released later that same year. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just head over to Mustang Notes. Now, the movie is based on the 1697 fairy tale of the same name by Charles Perrault, who had also written Cinderella. The production was supervised by Clyde Geronimi, and the film's sequences were directed by Wolfgang Reitherman, Eric Larson, and Les Clark. Sleeping Beauty came under development in 1950 and took nearly a decade and $6 million to produce, making it the most expensive Disney animated film at the time. The film's tapestry-esque art style was devised by Ivan Earl, who drew inspiration from the pre-Renaissance European art, with its musical score and songs composed by George Bruns and based on the 1889 ballet of the same name by Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, who had also composed ballets like The Nutcracker and Swan Lake. Sleeping Beauty was the first animated film to be photographed in the Super Technorama 70 widescreen process, as well as the second full-length animated film to be filmed in anamorphic widescreen following Lady and the Tramp. Sadly, because of Sleeping Beauty's bombing at the box office, it caused Walt Disney to sadly lose interest in the animation medium and resulted in the company posting its first annual loss in a decade for fiscal year 1960, which amounted to $1,300,000, as well as in massive layoffs throughout the animation department. However, on the bright side, the film's subsequent re-releases during 1970, 1979, 1986, and 1995 proved very successful, and it has since become one of the most artistically acclaimed Disney features ever produced. Plus, even though there have been a few characters from the film in the first few Kingdom Hearts games, it wouldn't be until the prequel, Birth by Sleep, where Sleeping Beauty would actually have a world which was, back then, visited by Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. And in 2019, the movie was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or authentically significant. I should also mention that decades later, Disney Toon Studios gave us a short sequel called Keys to the Kingdom, which was part of a double feature direct-to-video film called Disney Princess Enchanted Tales Follow Your Dreams. And to me, it was a pretty decent film where Aurora had to learn to stick to her duties and not take the easy way out. Now, in my opinion, for Disney's first Super Technorama 70 widescreen animated film, I think the animation is very artistic. Also, I love the illustrations for the film's storybook, and I think Marvin Miller is a great narrator. Plus, like several other films during Walt Disney's time, I like how the film uses live actors and costumes to serve as models for the animators, which Disney insisted on because he wanted the characters to appear as real as possible. Also, I think the characters have a nice design to them, and I like the several locations featured throughout the Enchanted Dominion, like the forest where Aurora hangs out with her animal friends, the abandoned woodcutter's cottage in the glen where Aurora and her aunts have been living ever since she was a baby, King Stephen's castle, which was brought to life on the big screen about 4 years after Disneyland was opened and 2 years after my favorite walkthrough attraction was made. And of course, there's the Forbidden Mountains where Maleficent resides. Also, I like how the film's story is pretty similar but a little different compared to the original fairy tale, and I like how they were trying to make it not too similar to the previous 2 Disney princess films like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Cinderella. And while watching this film, I noticed that it includes scenes that range from light and happy, to funny, to epic, to emotional, to dark, and thought-provoking. And I think this film might have influenced other animated films that came out later, like Don Bluth's All Dogs Go to Heaven, Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and of course Richard Rich's The Swan Princess. I'll explain why as we go along. Anyway, I also think it's pretty clever how the movie uses Tchaikovsky's ballet for the film, and I think the songs are very classical, cleverly written, and nice to listen to. For example, There's the opening song, Hail to the Princess Aurora, where many people from across the kingdom go to King Stephen's castle to attend Aurora's christening. There's the Gifts of Beauty and Song, which is sung while the good fairies bless baby Aurora with their gifts, respectively, before getting interrupted by Maleficent. And to me, this song has very astounding visuals to accompany both verses. And I like how it shows flowers, springtime trees, and birds. And it really warms my heart and puts me in happy tears every time I listen to it. We also have Aurora's longing song, I Wonder, the drinking song, Scumps, sung by King Stephen and King Hubert, which in my opinion is the funniest song in the entire movie. And I like that the song is accompanied by a minstrel who plays his mandolin while having a few drinks before getting drunk and dozing off. And there's the title song, Sleeping Beauty, where the fairies put everybody in the castle to sleep. Lastly, there's the film's main love song, Once Upon a Dream, which is sung by Princess Aurora while she dances with her animal friends, and not too long later, Prince Philip joins in. To me, this song has got to be one of the most famous love songs in Disney history, up there with Someday My Prince Will Come and So This Is Love. And during the 2000s, it's been covered by a couple artists like No Secrets and Emily Osment. Plus, the song is also heard during the film's opening credits and finale. Speaking of which, I find it very romantic that Aurora and Philip danced during their first meeting and during the film's ending. But it's also pretty funny when Flora and Merryweather are fighting over Aurora's dress color. Plus, as I said last year, their dance was recycled for the ending dance in Beauty and the Beast. Also, during the events of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, Ventus kind of witnessed the moment where Aurora and Philip first met after he released her heart from Maleficent's lair using his Keyblade. And now, let's move on to the characters and the voice actors who brought him to life. Our main character, Princess Aurora, is voiced by the legendary Mary Costa, who not only became a Disney legend in 1999, but she was also a recipient of the 2020 National Medal of Arts. Now that's a very impressive honor. Now, we all know that Aurora is the third Disney princess in the lineup. She's the fifth Disney princess to help Princess Sophia, and she's one of the 7 princesses whom together have the power to open the door to darkness. To me, Aurora is graceful and kind. She knows that a wonderful future awaits if you just have the courage to dream it. Plus, Aurora enjoys using her imagination and sharing stories with her forest friends, which consist of an owl, a squirrel, 2 rabbits, a robin, and a bluebird. She is also loyal in her relationships to her animal friends, her fairy guardians, and her kingdom. Plus, Aurora believes in a wish, and she remains hopeful that she will find the adventure she is looking for. Also, I think Mary Costa's voice for her is absolutely incredible, and I love how she adds an operatic feel to her songs. Plus, I also think that Aurora is really beautiful, even while under her evil aunt's sleeping curse throughout the 3rd act. By the way, I know this may sound pretty risky of me, but if I could have my way, I would push Aurora away from the spinning wheel and prick my finger on the spindle in her place in order to save her. Also, I'd like to talk about a certain friend of mine from Musical Theater Village who's also named Aurora, known by her friends as Rory. She's the daughter of Don Long Doherty, whom was not only my junior high drama teacher, but she was also the one who influenced me to join Musical Theater Village ever since fall 2005. And while Denise may be the main director and queen of the theater, Rory had been directing a couple shows back then. Plus, about 10 years ago, after my final performance in Aladdin on St. Patrick's Day, me and the cast witnessed Rory's then boyfriend Kenneth propose to her while being dressed like Prince Philip. And of course, she said yes. Then, 2 years later, just when they were getting ready to become husband and wife, I made a special wedding card for them, Sleeping Beauty styled. And while I haven't seen Rory or Kenneth in a long time, I hope they're still having a happy life, especially after learning that last year they received a beautiful baby daughter named Evelyn, or Evie for short. But anyway, let's carry on. Next we have Aurora's aunts and guardians, the three good fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, voiced by Verna Felton, Barbara Jo Allen, and Barbara Luddy. Flora is a bossy and headstrong fairy who serves as strategist and leader of the three, and she grants Aurora the gift of beauty. And of course, she's named after Walt Disney's mother. Fauna is a gentle and a flighty fairy who tends to act as a peacemaker between Flora and Merryweather, and she grants Aurora the gift of song, and Merryweather is a feisty, pessimistic, and short-tempered fairy who is inclined to challenge Flora's leadership. She is also pragmatic and resourceful, and she was able to soften Maleficent's evil spell so that Aurora would not die, but rather enter an enchanted sleep, which she can be awakened from by true love's kiss. To me, these three fairies steal the entire show for me, due to them raising Aurora in the woodcutter's cottage as mortal peasant women for 16 years, as well as renaming her as Briar Rose in order to keep her safe from their evil rival. However, I didn't really like the part where Flora and Merryweather were fighting over which color Aurora's dress should be, because during their squabble, their magic blasts fly up the chimney and attracts the attention of Maleficent's raven, Diablo, whom was flying nearby searching for Aurora. And I thought it wasn't smart of the fairies to leave Aurora alone in her bedchamber to cry her eyes out. Plus, I agree with Merryweather that Flora is lousy at sewing and Fauna can't cook. However, while using their magic wands, I think Fauna is an amazing baker and Flora is a fabulous seamstress. And I think Merryweather does a better job at cleaning with magic compared to what Mickey Mouse tried to do in Fantasia. Also, later in the film, when Prince Philip gets captured by Maleficent, the fairies free him from the dungeon, they arm him with a mighty sword of truth and an enchanted shield of virtue, and they assist him while helping him escape the Forbidden Mountain and while he battles Maleficent in her dragon form. Also, in Sophia the First, the good fairies serve as the head mistresses of royal prep, teaching young royals various studies, particularly in royal etiquette, sports, art, and magic. And in the Kingdom Hearts games, they assist Ventus and Aqua during their adventure in the Enchanted Dominion. They also provide Sora with new traveling clothes, and they, along with Merlin, have been training Lee and Kyrie to use their Keyblades. Next is Prince Philip, voiced by Bill Shirley, whom was in 1964's My Fair Lady. Philip is the son of King Hubert, who was betrothed to King Stephen's daughter, Princess Aurora, as a means of unity. However, the alliance becomes endangered when Philip instead falls in love with a peasant girl in the forest, unaware that she is actually Aurora, but willingly risks everything he can to save the love of his life, their family, and the rest of the kingdom from their eternal slumber. To me, Philip is a brave and heroic Disney prince, like when he fights Maleficent's goons while escaping from the Forbidden Mountain, when he cuts his way through a forest of thorns surrounding King Stephen's castle, and when he battles Maleficent in her dragon form. Plus, he appears to be fairly easygoing, and he's able to persuade people to do as he wants, like when he bribes his horse Samson with food so that he can find the source of the singing that he heard, and when he manipulates his father into agreeing that he should marry the girl he loves rather than the princess to whom he is betrothed to. Plus, I think the scene where Philip sees baby Aurora when he was a young boy was the inspiration for a similar scene in Richard Rich's The Swan Princess. And I think the scene where Philip kisses Aurora to awaken her, which feels like a recycled clip from Snow White, was a very sweet moment. Also, I think Philip and Aqua make an awesome team together during the events of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. As for the other characters, we have Aurora's parents, King Stefan and Queen Leah, voiced by Taylor Holmes and Verna Felton. Stefan is portrayed as a humble and debonair figure, as well as a suave and loving father, and as a soft-spoken man, while also having a few anger outbursts, and the fact that he's been worrying sick about his daughter over the past 16 years. Plus, I think the part where Stefan decrees that every spinning wheel in his kingdom should be burned shows his protective side. As for his wife Leah, well, while she doesn't have much of a proactive role here, I like that she's shown as a caring individual and as a loving mother. Next up, we have Philip's father, King Hubert, voiced by Bill Thompson, best known as the voice of Droopy, the White Rabbit, and Dodo in Alice in Wonderland, Mr. Smee in Peter Pan, along with Ranger Woodlore and Scrooge McDuck. In my eyes, Hubert seems to be a fairly jolly old bloke, and he's a good friend to King Stefan. Plus, I thought the funniest scene involving Hubert was when he uses a fish as a weapon instead of a sword, while Stefan defends himself with a plate. And I like the part where a drowsy Hubert tells Stefan that his son Philip is in love with some sort of peasant girl, which was overheard by the three good fairies, and makes them realize that it was Philip whom Aurora met in the forest earlier that day. Our next character is Diablo, Maleficent's pet raven, vocalized by Candy Candido, who also voices one of the goons, and he was in 1939's The Wizard of Oz, Disney's Peter Pan, along with Disney's Robin Hood, Chuck Jones, the Phantom Tollbooth, and of course, the Great Mouse Detective. To me, this raven is extremely loyal to his mistress, and he serves as Maleficent's confidant and assistant, more so than her lackey. Also, I thought his most memorable role in this movie is the part where he's sent by his mistress to find Aurora, which he succeeds due to Flora and Merryweather attracting his attention by color fighting. By the way, for some time now, I've been kind of curious as to what the movie would have been like if it included a scene where Diablo returns to the Forbidden Mountain to send his mistress the news.
My pet, have you found the maid? Well, this is an interesting turn of events. And those three imbeciles are taking her home tonight. This is even better than I could have foreseen. Come, we must greet the princess for her birthday.
Plus, Diablo is also shown to be second in command, like during the scene where he rallies up Maleficent's goons to try to prevent Philip from escaping using boulders, arrows, and hot boiling water. Thankfully, Diablo meets his end when Merryweather chases him and petrifies him with her magic. Finally, we come to the evil Maleficent, voiced by Eleanor Audley, who also voiced Lady Tremaine in Cinderella and Madame Leota in the Haunted Mansion ride. Now, as I said earlier, Maleficent has been described as Disney's most popular and recognizable villains. Not surprising, since she's the mistress of all evil. She's ruthless, dark, devious, and will do whatever it takes to achieve her evil goals. And I agree with both Fauna and Aqua that Maleficent has no knowledge of love, kindness, or the joy that comes from helping others. Plus, I think the music that accompanies her scenes is very spooky, bone-chilling, and thought-provoking. By the way, I'd like to share a pretty funny fact. In the original ballet, the scene that features this creepy music was called Puss in Boots, where two cats dance at the royal wedding during the final act. Anyway, in the movie, because she was not invited to baby Aurora's christening, Maleficent curses the baby princess to die by pricking her finger on a spinning wheel spindle before the sun sets on her 16th birthday. Also, there are a couple scenes I want to mention that involve her. First is the scene where she laughs with her goons after finding out that they have been searching for nothing but a baby for 16 years before calling them idiots and imbeciles and using her staff to strike them down with dark lightning, which, by the way, is my mom's favorite part of the movie. The second scene is the part where she appears in the darkness of Aurora's fireplace and uses a hypnotic apparition resembling a will-o'-the-wisp to lure Aurora up to a hidden room in a high tower, then conjures up a spinning wheel and orders her to touch the spindle, which in my eyes was the scariest and most haunting part of the whole film. So much so that it actually gave me nightmares for years ever since I was little. Also, while watching this scene, I can sort of hear the music calling Aurora's name. The third scene is the part where Maleficent tells Philip the identity of his true love and that she plans to keep him imprisoned for an entire century until he grows elderly. And the final scene is where she fights Philip in the form of a ferocious fire-breathing dragon, which in my opinion is very epic and badass. Plus, I kind of get the feeling that her transformation bit was the inspiration for Mephisto the Devil Dog's appearance in All Dogs Go to Heaven. Anyway, in the end, Philip, with help from the three good fairies, defeats Maleficent by throwing his sword directly into her heart and sends her crashing down to her death. Also to note, throughout the Kingdom Hearts games, I find it pretty interesting that Maleficent has had contact with Master Xehanort. She mesmerized Terra into stealing Aurora's heart before getting thwarted by Ventus and Aqua. She teamed up with several other Disney villains while capturing 7 princesses. She tricked Riku into joining her and turned him against his best friend Sora. Plus, Maleficent has also been causing trouble in other worlds, including the Datascape, and nowadays, while being assisted by Pete, Maleficent has been searching for some sort of black box. And now on to my final words. Overall, Walt Disney's Sleeping Beauty is not only considered as one of the most classical animated Disney films, but also one of the most legendary fairy tale films ever made. It has an enchanting story with scenes ranging from charming, fun, silly, dark, epic, and thrilling. It has fantastic voice acting and terrific characters, with Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather stealing the whole show, and with Maleficent as the most evil villain in the history of Disney. The songs are unforgettable. I liked the use of Tchaikovsky's ballet music, and the animation makes this movie very artistic. Plus, despite the fact that the movie was a box office bomb, I'm happy that it has gained a strong cult following and a wonderful legacy over the years. And I'm also happy that this is one of my childhood favorite Disney films, next to The Fox and the Hound, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and a few others. And believe me, this movie is a classic in every way, and I recommend it for every Disney fan, young or old. And so, it gives me great honor to give this film a full rating of 100%. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for my next blog. Here's to 800 episodes and many happy returns of my birthday. Mustang Power!